I am mistaken. We still have Tempo Storm versus We Back. That is actually the next series of the game, and that is going to be insane. So this is actually a rematch from the finals of tournament number 5. It's Tempo Storm versus We Back in this best of 5 series.
This is going to be intense. This is going to be intense, to say the least.
Yeah.
What composition do they lead off with? Because that was the surprise last time. We saw FLS from Asber's team, and we saw LSD from Jamili's. Are they going to start with similar comps, or are they going to try and mix it up? Maybe they just start with their Mage Paladins, their prime compositions that they practice with. It's going to be interesting. I feel like Jamili's team are at risk if they start with LSD. FLS deals with LSD very well, and Asber on Feral Druid did so much damage. He was able to really support Mageddon, even though Mageddon was kind of maybe fresh to Warlock. Asber just picked up the damage in his place, so We Back are holding each other together with that synergy, and I'm really curious to see what comps both these teams lead off with.
Oh, the mind games and the blind pick are real. The Q has popped, however, versus Tempo Storm and We Back. Let's take a quick look at what these guys are actually going to be playing. It looks like We Back is going to run with their Mage Boomkin Holy Paladin, what they're so well known for, and in response, Tempo Storm went to the dampener. They went with Channels. They went with Channels. They went with Jamili on his Elemental Shaman, and Goreki playing LSD, and, Lock Shaman Druid. And, We Back kind of lost that blind pick, I think. I mean, they didn't mind game all that much. They're just sticking with the burst guns. But Supatees, they're still the 10%, man. There's always the 10%.
Yes, there's 10% plus Asber's team has been losing. The thing happens, like, you lose to a team so much, and then you just eventually figure out, oh, if I put this here and this here, I can actually kill during this. And it's going to be interesting to see if We Back can figure that out, because it seems like they were getting better and better every time they fought LSD. And they've been practicing a lot on the ladder, so I'm sure they've been fighting it a lot, and I'm sure they have a better strategy. I'm sure Chanimals is going to be focused a lot here in this match. His pet is the primary target probably for We Back. Chanimals' pet management needs to be perfect. And you can see already he's hiding it behind the pillar. He doesn't want to expose his pet to any early damage. Mageddon coming out, casting some Frostbolts, building up some damage. Not really able to get any casts off just yet. Now Asber coming out from stealth. Who are they going to initiate the fight on is the question here. Chanimal soul swapping some dots around here, already building up momentum. We see Jamili popping his Ascendance, almost first global, but here comes the Celestial Alignment, the 10% chance to win. Ironbark going to be used from Goreki, recognizing that cooldown right away. Chanimal's portals out of line of sight, preventing any more incoming damage, and they deal with this initial burst from We Back very well.
Yeah, they've done actually a great job of recovering from that. Mageddon now taking a little bit of just sort of like incidental damage from Jamili on his Elemental Shaman Dampener, just doing as much damage as he can, just finding a target basically. And now he's going to start moving up in here, and looks like he's trying to drop down those earthquakes. And those earthquakes are always really interesting when they drop them on the pillars here, because it's very dangerous to stand in them, because you never know when you could just randomly get stunned. Now Goreki though caught into that deep freeze. Do they have the follow-up CC? Yes, they do land the follow-up polymorph onto Goreki, so it's going to be quite some time. It looks like Asber trying his best to find a target here, but he's just taking so much pressure himself that he has to be kind of careful. Now moving over to start putting some damage into Dampener. He's just going to go ahead and use that Thunderstorm, knock everybody away, say, get away from me right now. I do not need you in my face. Valoria caught into that Mighty Bash. Now they're putting even more damage into Asber. And it does really feel like Tempo Storm, but they're just sort of sitting back, doing whatever they feel like at the moment, and it's We Back's job to try and figure out how they're going to recover from it.
Yeah, Channels is doing a good job line of sighting any potential burst. Now they finally caught him out of position. He's already used his portal. A lot of burst following it up. He's down to half HP. Goreki displacing, trying to avoid getting crowd control at the moment here. Just line of sighting with Channels. Asber moving in, looking for a clone. Not able to connect it here. We see Jamili even off healing. Chanimal choosing to pop his first Dark Soul of the game, trying to build some momentum up with this. Asber getting locked out by Jamili. Preventing this Cyclone is very important. Now the Shadow Fury to stop the Cyclone. They really need to prevent Asber from getting it. Now bursting him down, forcing him back, forced to Barkskin. Valoria now using his Avenging Wrath. This Avenging Wrath will recover his team, but he did get locked out. Maybe it's going to pause his healing for a moment here. They connect the Sheep, though, onto Goreki. We Back are moving in onto Chanimals. He's not taking too much damage just yet. Nice healing stream from Jamili is giving him that damage reduction buff, so he's not taking nearly as much damage as he would have in that position. Really nice healing stream from Jamili. Chanimals is going to survive. Now line of sighting, trying to get some dots up here. A lot of burst actually out of Mageddon from Jamili alone, down to half HP. Valoria's Avenging Wrath is going to be fading. 16. And now what do WeBack do? Do they choose to run? Are they going to just stay on top of Tempo Storm? Right now they're staying on top of them. They're trying to get advantages here with this clone on Gorecki. We can see Jamili down to half HP, caught into a stun. Can they get the sheep? They connect the sheep. Jamili still not even taking enough damage to have to Shaman Rage. He's going to get out of line of sight, heal himself back up. Asper chasing right after him, trying to finish him off, but he does not have enough damage to do it. Mageddon's going to blink in, locks Jamili on his heal. He's unable to use his damage reduction cooldown, down to 30%, trying to stay alive, will recover, counter pressuring now with his Ascendants. Asper, Mageddon on the run.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. As soon as he popped Ascendance, Asper immediately just started running away. He said, like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm leaving. I don't want any of this right now. And then running back over behind this pillar, just trying to get an opportunity to heal themselves back up. WeBack doing a great job of staying alive through all the pressure that Tempo Storm has been putting out, though, and actually having to use very, very little in the way of cooldowns. In fact, pretty much every defensive cooldown is now available, with the exception of one of Mageddon's ice blocks. And on the other side of the board over for Tempo Storm, pretty much everything available there except for Jamili's Ascendance. So I have a feeling we're going to be in for a long game here. As I say that, though, Mageddon moving in here, trying to get some damage going out. There's the Solar Beam landing. They're putting as much damage as they can into Jamili. He's caught into that Fist of Justice, now caught into the Cyclone as well, trying to swap it over onto, it looks like maybe Gorecki, or maybe just holding Jamili in place for just a second while they sort of play Ring Around the Rosie with this pillar here, just looking for any opportunity to actually hit something. Neither team really able to connect anything, though, at the moment. Just actually, for all the spell effects that were flashing around on the screen there, very little actually got accomplished.
Yep, Asper actually getting bopped out of that bash. Obviously, that bop isn't going to reduce any damage, so Flori wants to use it to break up crowd control. We see a preemptive Iron Bark from Gorecki trying to predict the deep freeze from Mageddon, but Mageddon's playing patiently. They're waiting for the Iron Bark. Are they going to make a swap to Chanimal is the question here. WeBack need to find a target that's going to be stuck in place, and we can see Chanimal is very slippery, so he's a very hard target to go after. We can see Jamili just chucking out some damage over onto Mageddon, not really accomplishing too much at the moment. Floria has that Avenging Wrath. They're pushing in. There's the Solar Beam. Jamili's going to trinket out into a Fist of Justice. Gorecki's caught into the sheep. Can they follow it up with any damage onto Jamili? He's going to gate to the opposite side, start healing himself back up with these healing surges. Floria even just standing on his face trying to kick one of those healing surges. I'm wondering if he's going to end up being able to land it. Doesn't look like he can just yet. Asver's chucking out some damage. Mageddon as well. Jamili down to half, but he still hasn't even needed to use his Shaman Rage once this game. Tempo Storm are looking so great.
They really are. It's very impressive how well they're able to stay alive through this. They are a comp that's sort of built around, let's push it into dampening as long as we can, and then we'll try and score a kill once the other team can no longer heal through all the damage that we're putting out. Not quite as strong as it was towards the end of Miss Pandaria, but that's still how the composition plays, and they're playing it very, very well at the moment. You can just see the constant pressure on WeBack's side of the screen as each member of that team constantly hovering between 50% and 80%. Floria actually took a huge chunk of damage there, has to pop Wings and Execution Sentence, and that was the save by the Light proc as well. So that's actually quite a bit that just got pulled out of Floria there. They could be looking for more quick, hard swaps onto him like that one. Asper caught into that stun there for just a second. He's going to immediately Barkskin, so they are going to make that second swap over onto Floria, force him back out of line of sight once again. And really, that's all Tempo Storm is after at the moment, is just making sure that WeBack can't put the pressure onto them. Ooh, Mageddon dipping down to 13% health. Holds onto his Ice Block, actually. He did use his Cold Snap there, but no Ice Block coming out from Mageddon. I'm actually very surprised that he got away with that. That was really, really super close for him. But now they're
playing Evanescence, so he has no
is he?
Ice Blocks, and he barely got the Evanescence off at 13% HP. He could have easily gone down. Jamili trying to exploit Mageddon's offensive talent pick. Not getting a kill just yet, but now we can see Floria on the run. WeBack pulling back, and Floria's trying to get a drink, not able to get it just yet, getting dotted up by Chanimals. Gorecki sitting down for a drink. Mageddon's going to blink in. Maybe he's going to get punished for this, though. A lot of damage following up, proccing his save by the Light Absorb. Mageddon throwing that Frozen Orb down. Looks like they're looking for a kill, but Gorecki's caught into that orb as well, which means they cannot follow it up with a sheep. Chanimal counter-pressuring immensely right now, with triple dots out for onto everyone. Asper's going to use his Nature's Vigil, trying to get a bit of extra healing to help out Floria, as he does not have Avenging Wrath for 8 more seconds. As soon as that Avenging Wrath comes up, though, I can imagine Floria's just waiting, just spamming the button right now to try and top this team off. Lava Bursts are following it up onto Floria. There's the Avenging Wrath, almost instantly being used off cooldown. He should be able to recover his team. Now, with Avenging Wrath up, they do not want to be running. They want to be right in their face. Asper cloning up Chanimal, trying to slow down his damage, trying to push forward. Mageddon, though, getting pressured down to 40%. Floria will be able to recover him, though, with the rest of this Avenging Wrath. Ore Mastery was used there as well, so they're not going to be able to use that Ore Mastery to guarantee any CC. Let's see what they can get done here. I'm imagining they're going to be going after Chanimals, moving into dampening, as his Dark Regeneration will be significantly weaker. His passive self-healing as a Warlock will be lower as well, and he is still the target. He's primed up. He's bashed behind the pillar. Gorecki lands that Iron Bark, dispelling his dots, trying to keep Chanimal mobile, trying to get him a little bit more slippery. Line of sighting with Gorecki here. Asper moving in, Majidin moving in, trying to finish him off. Not enough damage though. Chanimal resummoning his pet. Great job getting that for free, and that's going to reduce a lot of damage with his Soul Link. So let's see if Chanimals can build up any pressure now that he's recovered and got his pet back. He's trying to get dots out. Valeria's trying to line of sight, and surprisingly enough, Gorecki's actually running out of mana.
Yeah, he's going to have to start looking for a drink here very, very soon. It looks like he might actually be trying to do that right now as he's trying to stay over here line of sight. Then Majidin blinks in and gets that deep freeze off, preventing that drink. Gorecki down at 20% mana. We are 22% into dampening right now, so every shred of mana matters tremendously right now, and Faloria definitely has the advantage at the moment. Majidin still taking so much damage, proccing the Save by the Light, just trying to get out of line of sight and keep himself alive, make sure that Faloria doesn't have to give up his mana advantage. And it looks like actually they are very neck and neck at this point now. That big chunk of damage has caused Faloria to have to spend quite a bit of it. Gorecki now sitting over behind the pillar in bear form, and he is going to get a drink. He's going to go into Shadow Meld. Majidin comes over and immediately drops that Cone of Cold to pull him out of it, but that was a couple of sips off that water there for just a second. Faloria, though, huge drink on Faloria. Back up to 81%. That is a big deal right now. Gorecki at 16% mana. This match will not last much longer unless Gorecki can get a similar drink himself, but it just does not look like WeBack is going to let him do that.
Yeah, Asper looking to set some damage up on Chanimals. He's getting even denounced by Faloria. Asper going to get locked out on that Starfire, but that means he's going to be able to freely clone if he wants to move in here. Majidin doesn't need to deal with that counterspell now either. Asper moving forward over onto Jamili. It looks like they're chasing after him as he is the only player separated from his team, already getting him down to 70%, catching him in that silence. Jamili's going to gate out of it and reconnect with his team. Really well done, playing together, sticking together, but that drink for Faloria is huge. It's going to allow WeBack to play very more aggressively here. Chanimal's trying to already burn through that mana though with his Dark, so a lot of pressure on Faloria. He doesn't have very many cooldowns to deal with it. Asper is forced to Bark Skin. We see defensive polymorphs out from Majidin on Jamili, trying to deny any more burst as Faloria is struggling, dampening at 31%. Can Faloria keep this healing up long enough for Asper to survive to the next Celestial Alignment? They have to make it to that point if they want to get a win here. Gorecki is finally tapped on mana. If they can somehow keep him completely tapped and swap targets based on what target has no hots, they might be able to just burst him down outright. Majidin blinks in, goes for the polymorph. Not able to get it though just yet. Doesn't seem like he's going to be able to land it, and now he used his Evanescence. He has no defensives. He has to cold snap to get another one. Will he even be able to survive through that? Asper is running down as well, down below 29%. Faloria is just the man with the plan, barely maintaining his team's HP. Avenging Wrath barely coming up. He's got 3 more seconds. Can Majidin survive? Long enough. 1 more second. Avenging Wrath is now available. He pops it almost immediately. Faloria should be able to stabilize his team. He's going to bubble now as well. Can he recover? Asper lands a clone. They need to get counter pressure. Celestial Alignment coming up in 3 seconds. There is the Shamanistic Rage before Celestial Alignment. Maybe they can just punch right through it, down at 30% HP. Gorecki has no more mana remaining. If Asper can do a little bit more damage, the Iron Bark now as well. They are primed and ready to take Jamili down in the next setup.
Yeah, it is looking very, very scary now for Tempo Storm. Now that Faloria has had a chance to recover, he is about to be tapped on mana himself. Gorecki actually having a small mana advantage at this point. But as soon as this Celestial Alignment comes out, I think it's going to spell danger for Tempo Storm in a hurry. Asper does get caught into an Earthquake stun there really quickly. It looks like he's trying to move in and get that Celestial Alignment going. Coming over here and starting to get very, very aggressive. There it is. Celestial Alignment comes out. Dampener caught into that stun. Do they have the CC for Gorecki? Do they even need it? There's so much damage going into Dampener right now. How is he still alive? Gorecki just healing him like crazy, running on fumes the entire time. Faloria caught into that fear. He's going to get knocked out into the middle of nowhere. Asper, though, he comes around. He's connecting onto Dampener. Can he do it right here, right now? Is it going to be enough? He's had to actually go and hide out of line of sight. His Celestial Alignment is gone, and Majidin is pushing in, but not enough, and Majidin will fall. Tempo Storm coming back from that huge mana disadvantage to be able to claim themselves a victory.
Yeah, you can see WeBack are taking almost an LSD approach to the match as well. They're trying to extend it to get a kill with Celestial Alignment and just raw damage. And if they could have had any CC on Gorecki towards the end of that match, I'm pretty sure Jamili would have gone down. They forced the Iron Bark and Shaman Rage just before it. So I'm just watching the replay myself to see what they might have been able to do better. So Major ended up getting locked on his sheep, so he wasn't able to get it. And a triple Shadow Fury from Chanimals actually prevented them from getting the kill, and that's why Jamili was able to survive. I thought he was going to die in that lockout, but Gorecki just barely clinging onto enough mana. Every single time he got a drink, every second of it mattered, because that little bit of mana was just enough to keep him alive. And despite getting a full sheep at the end, Jamili didn't throw the game. He just let Chanimal and finish them off. So it was really well done from Tempo Storm. I think they played that out the way that they should have.
Man.
It'd be nice if we could have a switch to have Daphne start at the beginning of the match if we chose.
That would be very interesting indeed. But you know, looking at that series, or that game I should say, I felt like We Back just had so much momentum, but all of that waiting and all of that setup was all for that one moment, and you know, Mom Spaghetti and all that. And unfortunately, you know, Chanimals, that triple Shadow Fury, dude, the plays like that triple Shadow Fury. And it's not even, he does it consistently too. Like whenever like something is getting really hairy, Chanimals is always there, you know, to hang on and appeal for his team. And we're gonna be getting into game number 2 here as the mind games continue between Weeback and Tempo Storm. And now all of a sudden, Weeback do have that composition advantage, and they've shown the FLS before, so I can't help but to feel like Tempo Storm is not going to be risking the LSD in game number 1. Or I'm sorry, game number 2, I should say.
I mean, this is again a mind game. We saw both teams actually start with Lock Shaman last time, but now the Asber's team kind of disadvantaging themselves. I guess they didn't expect Jamili to be bold enough to start with it, because if they had locked in FLS, I'm sure that Asber's team would be able to take victory. I'm guessing that Asber's teams thought like, okay, we've got a lot of practice. We're improving against this comp. We shouldn't be completely terrified. Let's just start with it, because we know we can beat their God comp with it too. And let's see if we can improve and beat their LSD. And it was close. Like that was very
really
close. But Jamili knew that he needed to survive for that one moment, and he put everything into surviving and was able to make it out alive. So it was well done from Tempo Storm to know that the game could have ended right there, and already in position defensively to gate away and get out of line of sight of Asber. Good CC from Chanimals ended up keeping them alive, and just long enough to finish off Majidin. So I can imagine maybe Jamili's team not even going back to LSD unless they know they're fighting the Mage Moonkin composition. Tolvaran, I can see, is now the map pick for Asber's team. So interesting. I think with this map, that's kind of a tell that they're going to be playing Mage Moonkin. It would be too big for Asber on Feral Druid to try and push in against 2 casters. So I would imagine we're going to be seeing Mage Moonkin, possibly LSD again too. So this could be a long match.
But maybe that's the mind game.
maybe
they're gonna just play.
Oh, let's see here. Ooh, Jamili on a Frost Mage. Peekaboo. It looks like we have a God comp versus Mage Boomkin. That's my assumption. I don't know. Oh, Mage it on the Mage. Alright, so we have that Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, Holy Paladin composition coming out from Tempo Storm versus Weeback's main composition. They're still sticking to the Mage, Boomkin, Holy Pally. And, you know, this matchup is actually really close. And, you know, the Mage, Boomkin specifically, they've told me that, you know, since the increase in stats, they actually would give the slight advantage to the God comp in the scenario. But we've seen it go back and forth. So it's so close. I can't wait to see what's going to go down. It's game number 2 between Weeback and Tempo Storm on Tolvaran Arena.
Yeah, the teams that do well against Weeback are the teams that know how to play around Celestial Alignment. That's critical cooldown for Asber and his team. If they get it off successfully, they can get a kill really quickly. If the other team is primed and ready for it, already out of line of sight, they can prevent all of the damage completely. So we're looking to see how well Tempo Storm can deal with Asber and his Celestial Alignment. I can see both teams just teeing off in the center of the map, building up some damage, getting ready for the attack. Who's going to go in first? Looks like Majidin's primed and ready. Moving in, Icy Veins blinks forward, gets silenced though on his blink. He's trying to get in line of sight of Gorecki. He locked him out. Now into the deep freeze. Majidin looking for a sheep, but he's forced to block. Peekaboo already down to 20%, down to 30, down to 1, just bursting at 1% and barely surviving. Close call. Asber catching Peekaboo in the open and bursting him down incredibly hard. Now pulling back and recovering and considering their options moving forward.
Okay then, well, so this match starts out very differently to the previous match. I thought for a second they were just going to sort of sit back and shoot at each other for a little while, but no, these guys, they want to go for those early kills. They don't want to wait for dampening in this match. Now Faloria, though, caught into this deep freeze. Do they get the follow-up CC? Yes, they do. He's going to immediately trinket that. He's still got a little bit of his Avenging Wrath left. He wants to try and make sure that Majidin can stay on the offensive. He does no longer have Hypothermia active, so he does have that Ice Block available, but it's still, he obviously does not want to use that unless he absolutely has to. Gorecki forced a bubble out of that Cyclone slash Solar Beam slash 7 other CCs. There was actually quite a bit of overlap on the Gorecki there for just a second. He just bubbles and gets rid of all of it. So maybe a little bit of a misplay there from Weeback overlapping some of that CC, but I'm not entirely sure. Majidin now having to blink back over here to meet up with Floria once again, and they're going to turn it around onto Asber. He has a Bark Skin, and immediately that Saved by the Light is going to proc as well. That was a scary moment there for Asber for just a second. But it looks like he will recover as well. And, of course, Tempo Storm immediately, they're just going to switch right back onto Majidin and try to keep that pressure rolling.
Yeah, Majidin teeing off on Jamili. You can see both of these teams trying to go on whatever wizard isn't at the pillar. Jamili getting bursted down hard. They connect the sheep. Will Jamili have to block his Saved by the Light procs? He's just a man with a plan, just staying there in the center of the map, tanking all of the damage, but he can't take it forever, blocking at 4%, and Jamili almost costing the game there. Will get back to the pillar, gets the cooldown off. Gorecki still getting crowd controlled at the moment here. Majidin has a counterspell ready to interrupt any potential cast. They land the full sheep, but they're looking for a setup here. Asber caught into the Horrify. I'm not sure if they're going to go after Majidin, though. Fear over onto Asber, but it gets dispelled right away. Gorecki caught into another sheep. Jamili's still in trouble, blinking back, trying to pull back defensively, even going for an invisibility. He gets it off, but that means they're going to swap onto Peekaboo. He has Dispersion coming up in 1 second. Avenging Wrath up for Gorecki. Should be able to heal his team back out with this cooldown. Asber getting silenced, trying to stop a clone, I think Peekaboo was trying to do here. Asber looking for another clone. Connects that onto Peekaboo. Both Paladins with Avenging Wrath up means that both of their teams are very safe at the moment. A lot of healing coming out from both of them. Jamili getting bursted down, though. Gorecki got locked out, and Jamili blocking at 6%. Another close call for Jamili, man. He's going to give me a heart attack.
Seriously, yeah, super close, and that does mean that now he has no ice blocks available compared to Majidin, who does still have one left, and Majidin doing a great job of hopping over here out of line of sight, just so that Asber can come over and toss him a quick heal. And is Majidin actually looking for a invis here? I'm not actually sure. Yeah, it looks like he might be. Nope, he's just hanging out behind line of sight there for just a second, waiting for Faloria to get over and top him off. Weeback wanting to play as defensive as possible. I think they recognize that they have an advantage at this point, and they need to not accidentally blow it by just moving in too early. But here it goes. Asber moving in. His Celestial Alignment is just now becoming available. Are we going to see it come out here? He does get locked on the Cyclone trying to cast that. Faloria caught into the Deep Freeze, back over out of line of sight. Now Asber caught into that full Fist of Justice, and they're trying to make something happen onto Majidin here. Majidin does have both of his ice blocks once again available now, so he should be feeling pretty safe, and that's why we're seeing him play so aggressively right now. He may have to use one there. No, he does catch the Execution Sentence. Jamili's immediately going to spell seal that off, but it did do enough healing that Majidin doesn't have to worry about it too much. And now with the Icy Veins coming out, Celestial Alignment was popped as well, so now they're going to try and make something happen over here, possibly onto Peekaboo. It seems like that may be their target of choice, actually. Gorecki's going to go ahead and use his bubble to try and get over here and get some healing off, and that's going to pretty much shut down this offensive push from Weeback for the time being, as Tempo Storm's going to now try to turn it back around again onto Majidin.
Yeah, he got locked on Frost there, I think, temporarily. His Save of the Light will proc. Majidin could be in trouble here as they land a full Fear onto Faloria, looking to finish Majidin off. He's going to blink. He blazing speeds opposite side of the map. Faloria should be able to pick him back up with his Avenging Wrath. Asber getting swapped over to a lot of burst following up. He's actually forced a Bark Skin with no crowd control. Faloria falling behind here, but they did manage to force Dispersion. They've got only Trinket available for Gorecki. The next push from Weeback could be the game. Asber blinks in, lands the Solar Beam onto the entire team of Tempo Storm, connecting it now into the Deep Freeze. Majidin chaining the CC, keeping Jamili isolated. Gorecki was forced to Trinket. Jamili still down at 35% HP. Gorecki has no cooldowns to really pick him back up in a quick hurry. Asber onto that Fist of Justice, though. Jamili looking to try and turn it around, but he doesn't have enough time. Down at 30%, it's Cold Snap barely coming off cooldown, as Gorecki did get locked out and put into that full clone. Now rotating some pressure onto Peekaboo. He's already positioning back at the pillar, looking to try and Master Spell Gorecki out of CC, but he's not playing the glyph, so that clone is going to sit on Gorecki, but now Faloria caught into a sheep. Asper with no Barkskin on the run. He's blinking to the opposite side of the map, sprinting for his life, taking advantage of that mobility that he brings with the Moonkin. Majin still building up some damage here, getting ready for the next attack as there's still no dispersion, no blocks, no trinket, and no bubble remaining for Tempo Storm. They have no way to break out of CC. Majin sees it. He's moving in. Asper's going to get silenced on the clone. Fist of Justice on Jamil. He's forced to trinket. They connect the sheep onto Gorecki. But Peekaboo Mass Dispels it in the nick of time to save his team, and that Mass Dispel is going to carry them forward. Jamil getting locked on Poly, but Gorecki should be able to pick him up. He just needs to get a couple of casts off the top. I guess he's afraid of getting potentially CC'd. He doesn't want to stand still. He's going to bop himself out of that bash, try and keep with his team, and Tempo Storm are staying together. Team with a plan at the moment here. Jamili's still on the run, but he is going to survive.
Yeah, however, for Weeback, Faloria has his bubble, he has his trinket, both available. Gorecki has literally nothing. He has one blessing of protection, and that's it. It's the only thing, that'll only pull him out of like 1 or 2 CCs. So with this stun onto Peekaboo, Peekaboo does have his dispersion. He's going to go ahead and just use it right there. Does not want to risk putting his healer even further behind than he already is right now. Now with that sheep onto Faloria and the full stun onto Asper, Faloria could be in some trouble here to try and keep his teammate alive. They're just now actually able to put a little bit of damage into Asper. Asper's just doing a great job this whole match of getting out of line of sight. Anytime he's in danger, he just runs and hides and says, you know what, you're going to put my healer in some CC. I don't care. I'm behind this pillar. I'm in Africa. There's no problem over here whatsoever. Gorecki now topping his team off once again, actually starting to feel a little bit better. Ooh, the nice double fear out onto Faloria and Asper. They're going to make something happen onto Majid, forcing that ice block out in a hurry. The follow-up deep freeze onto Faloria and that polymorph as well. They do manage to get the full polymorph onto Faloria. He does have both his trinket and his bubble available, but he wants to hold on to them as much as he possibly can. Majidin doing a great job hiding over here out of line of sight from Peekaboo. Just Jamili over there who does get put into that cyclone, so that's going to stop that damage. And Faloria able to hold on to his trinket for quite a bit of time there as well.
Celestial Alignment out from Asper, building pressure on Jamili. Gorecki sees it. He's going to bubble right away. Defensive Fear onto Asper now will prevent the rest of that Celestial Alignment. Once again, Tempo Storm shut Asper down and recover. Slowly but surely, Tempo Storm are clinging in here. They've had nothing for so long, and this game is still going on. What is happening? Faloria caught into the sheep, but it broke to the Cascade. Peekaboo actually broke that sheep. Potentially could have slowed down the pressure, but I guess they forced the block regardless. Faloria caught into the Frost Jaw. Do they have anything to chain it out? Doesn't look like they do, so Faloria should be able to maintain Majidin for now here, but Gorecki's actually completely Asper's doing so much damage, he's completely tapped Gorecki's mana bar again. Can they capitalize on it and make something happen here? They're completely topped off, but Majidin has no blocks. Jamili's going to have one coming up in 2 more seconds. I wonder if Weeback knows that. They're going after Peekaboo. They've got about 12 more seconds to kill him. If they can't kill him in this stun, he's going to have dispersion coming up. Faloria caught in the deep freeze, though. Tempo Storm looking for an attack over onto Majidin. Fist of Justice onto Asper. Faloria bubbles to remove the crowd control. He knows the situation is dire as Majidin has no more ice blocks remaining. Solar Beam over onto Gorecki, pressure over onto Peekaboo, but he has dispersion, just going to trade it up as Gorecki is completely tapped on mana. How much longer can they keep this up? Tempo Storm have been clinging on with nothing for so long.
Yeah, and Jamili actually holding onto his Cold Snap right now. He has not used it. I believe he actually wants to try and get his Ice Block cooldown to wear off on its own because there's only a minute left on it. But that could end up biting him in the butt if he ends up having to use that Cold Snap because it's even longer that he won't have it available. Gorecki now caught into that Deep Freeze, and with no mana left, the CC almost doesn't even matter. 938 mana on Gorecki right now. It's amazing he's even able to find any spells that cost that low amount of mana to even be able to cast, but he is still able to get some casts off there and keep his teammates alive. Peekaboo, DJ Peekaboo now caught into that cyclone there for just a second. They're turning it back around onto Asper once again. Asper actually having to run. The triple fear comes out. Are they going to have anything to follow up with this? Do they have anything? Majidin now getting silenced down to 5%. Does not have an ice block. And Tempo Storm just pulls it out of nowhere, getting that clutch victory onto Weeback.
I said Asper was doing a lot of damage, but I guess the score screen doesn't lie. Peekaboo doubled everything.
Wow, 10 million damage from Peekaboo.
Peekaboo just casually doubling everyone in the back part of that.
That was so crazy. I felt like Tempo Storm was on the back foot forever, and they just used everything in their arsenal to survive slowly, and eventually they found an opportunity where Weeback just didn't have anything to deal with the next setup, and you know, there it is, watching this replay, as you see the triple fear coming out, there was nothing that they could do to prevent this from happening at this, and the down Majidin goes, and Tempo Storm is going to take another game off of Weeback now 2-0, and these guys just look downright I don't know, unbeatable. It would feel like Tempo Storm just having that versatility, but also playing it at the highest level is looking super strong, super
I
strong.
mean, you say unbeatable, but there was a 1% peekaboo dispersion in
I
there,
wish I
and
got
also a
that replay.
2% block. Like,
Yeah.
there were 2 points where if a denounce had landed or something, anything along those lines, a Moonkin tick had crit, then someone would have died. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like WeBack. I don't think that Tempo Storm should feel super safe at this point.
Yeah.
They are up 2-0, which means they have to lose a lot to lose this series at this point. So they should be feeling good about themselves for sure. But there were a lot of incredibly close points in that match. And that was like in the first like 30 seconds of the match too.
Oh,
was
yeah.
that dispersion? It was absolutely crazy.
And when I saw that 1%, I couldn't actually see what the number is of his health, but I'm pretty sure it was like in the hundreds. It was so close, and you know, it's like, oh man, you know, it's really difficult to be able to anticipate such damage like that. But you know, that's like, especially in the opener when you have the trinket procs, when you have all the good stuff ready and rolling with the celestial alignment. That's the kind of damage that WeBack has been able to put out, you know, pretty consistently almost. We've seen some pretty crazy globals, but here we go. The next game is ready, and it looks like Tempo Storm, you know, they feel confident in their God Comp play after that second game, and they're going to be going they're going to choose it again against the Mage Boomkin here in game number 3.
Yeah, and you can see that Tempo Storm knows how to exploit the weaknesses of Mage Moonkin Paladin. One of the weaknesses is that it's very hard to actually close a game. If the other team's just playing at the pillar, always line of sighting at least the Mage or the Moonkin or both of them, it's actually very hard to finish somebody off, which is why Tempo Storm was able to survive with nothing. Just always in defense mode, always trading out cooldowns for Celestial Alignment, and that's what they need to do against this composition. And I would say that they are advantaged. It's very easy for them to isolate a target, as Solar Beam is such a longer cooldown than what the Shadow Priest brings in this specific matchup. So it's definitely an advantage for them, but Tempo Storm are playing it out perfectly to be able to survive with nothing. So as long as they can keep up their defense, I think they're looking to take another 3-0 against WeBack. Obviously, Asber, Magen, and Floria are going to have something to say about it. They do have the 10% chance to win with the Celestial Alignment. Just a couple of crits, that could be it and end the game. Jamili building up some icicles, Peekaboo building up some shadow orbs, Jamili blinking in, Gorecki pre-sacrificing this sheep. I'm surprised that it hasn't broken just yet. Jamili, I guess, not taking any damage, but we see another setup over on the Magen and taking already down to half HP. Valoria caught in that deep freeze. Jamili needs to get a sheep, but he gets cloned up. Really well-timed clone from Asber. Breaks up the CC. Now we see Celestial Alignment out, and Gorecki's just going to bubble. This is no way you're killing anybody. I'm completely tough.
Yeah, however, you know, he is caught into that full Cyclone. Doesn't want to use his Trinket, obviously, so he's just going to sit through that. They're Cycloning him through his Avenging Wrath, just trying to make sure that as much pressure as possible keeps going onto Peekaboo, who gets caught over here, does have to disperse down to 17% there. So they are going to get the dispersion out from Peekaboo, as well as the Trinket from Gorecki there, actually. So now Tempo Storm actually having used a ton of their defensives. However, WeBack does not have a single Trinket available on their entire team at this point in time. So Tempo Storm should still feel pretty confident about this. They just have Feloria's bubble left to get through, as well as some ice blocks if they choose to go after Magen. But it kind of looks like their target of choice has been Asber for most of this match.
Yeah, Asber. Well, he's still got Barkskin. He's still in a decent position. He's got his Save by the Light. We see a setup on Peekaboo. This might be the game if they can chain the CC. Peekaboo getting bursted down very hard by WeBack, already down to 45%, chaining the CC onto Gorecki. Peekaboo trying to get out of line of sight. Jamili blocking to try and get this Polymorph onto Floria. He connects the Polymorph, trying to rotate some pressure on Magen. Asber sees it coming and clones up Jamili. Really well done from Asber, peeling this initial burst and seeing Jamili's offensive block and canceling it out with these defensive clones.
Yeah, very well done. That does mean that Jamili is now down on the ice block. And interestingly, he's actually not used his cold snap once again. So maybe he just feels like he's not going to need that ice block, and he can hang on to the cold snap and try to get back to having 2 blocks once again. It's a bit of an odd choice when his ice block has 5-minute cooldown, but who am I to judge? I'm nowhere near as good as Jamili at this game. Anyway, Gorecki now having to try and top his team back off once again with the constant Cyclones coming out onto Jamili, just preventing him from really being able to get anything done. Now Peekaboo caught into that beam and then into the Fist of Justice as well. He goes ahead and trinkets off both of those and gets himself back over here once again out of line of sight. But now Gorecki caught into this full Polymorph could mean trouble for Peekaboo. Magen, though, getting super low over here. Just trying to hide as best he can. He may just go down. Whoa! A 1% ice block there for Majidin, just barely staying alive. That I thought for sure he was actually just going to die there. Now Faloria, though, caught into that fear. Asper has to Barkskin because of that Fist of Justice. Faloria has to bubble to try and keep him alive, and he should be able to, with that bubble, should be able to keep his team alive through that. But we back on the back foot at the moment, just trying their best to survive against this constant pressure. Now moving in here once again, though, Majidin is in a little bit of trouble. The Save by the Light is going to proc. He's just spell stealing as much as he can. Faloria doing his best to keep his team alive as that Deep Freeze comes out. But it looks like Weeback should be able to stabilize, and they're now trying to turn it back around onto Jamili.
Yeah, Jamili forced to use his Cold Snap to heal. Gorecki getting solar beamed up by Asper, looking to take Peekaboo down, but he does have Dispersion. They chain it into the Cyclone on Gorecki's Trinket. Really well done. Are they going to switch the pressure onto Jamili is the question. We can see Asper caught in a Horrify. Looks like they're setting up onto Asper. Triple Fear comes out, forcing to actually Major into Trinket, into a Fist of Justice. I believe he got locked on Arcane, so he's unable to blink out. It's a 3v1 on Asper. He's on the run. Will that even be enough? No Barkskin for 2 more seconds remaining, down to 38%. Still kiting like a god, trying to get out of line of sight. Gorecki now caught into a Deep Freeze. Majidin looking for a sheep. He lands it. Can they switch the pressure around? Jamili forced to Trinket out of Asper's clone. Peekaboo's going to go into Spectral Guy's stealth, but not for enough. He's forced to disperse, and that was not the Celestial alignment. Now there is a critical moment here for Weeback in the next Deep Freeze. They might be able to take Peekaboo down. There's no Avenger Wrath, no bubble, no Trinket, no way for them to remove crowd control. Majidin needs to survive this setup, though. Burst following it up. Faloria forced to Aura Mastery, topping it back off. Weeback should stabilize. Their Deep Freeze coming up in 2 more seconds. With this Deep Freeze, with this Solar Beam, Weeback need to crowd control the entire team of Tempo Storm at the same time. Can they do it? I'd like to see a Solar Beam on Jamili, Fist of Justice on Peekaboo, Deep Freeze on Gorecki. Gorecki knows it's coming. He's trying to pre-sacrifice it. Set up on the Majidin. I wouldn't be surprised to just trade out this block and then rotate the pressure around. Faloria still has his Trinket for this Fear. Looks like he's being greedy, though, trying to hold on to it. Majidin's block is going to be fading, though. He's still down at 35% HP. Can they just finish him off outright, down to 36%? Peekaboo pulling back. He knows he's the most vulnerable target at the moment, but they've got so much pressure on Majidin that Weeback are just unable to attack. Majidin down to 20%, down to 23. Will he survive? We see Solar Beam on Peekaboo defensively. Jamili actually getting swapped over to, but Jamili has a block, and now the Celestial alignment is only going to force an Ice block. Peekaboo pulling back should be able to get out of line of sight of the remaining seconds of this Celestial alignment. Unless they can kill Jamili through this polymorph chain, the Celestial alignment will go without promise. And now we see Weeback's chance to strike is over, and we can see Tempo Storm bringing the momentum back.
Yeah, definitely. And they should be feeling fairly confident at this point, too. Gorecki will have both his bubble and his Trinket available in just a few seconds. Faloria with just that bubble remaining. So in terms of just healing capability, Tempo Storm can feel super confident in their ability to push in. They're just going to sit back here for just a second and maybe even just wait for Weeback to try and come out towards them and force them to come to them in this matchup. And they kind of can afford to do that right now because it is so long before that Celestial alignment is going to come back up for Asper. That said, Jamili with 20 seconds on his Cold Snap may want to just play a little bit defensively until he can have that available should he need it. Now actually taking quite a bit of damage, caught into that Solar Beam. Gorecki caught into the Deep Freeze. Could be a little bit of trouble here. The Save by the Light does proc. Jamili's still under a lot of pressure here. The Wings comes out from Gorecki. He's going to get sheeped on that. And now a Cyclone onto Jamili. A little bit of a extra CC there just to be able to keep Majidin alive, who did have to Ice Block there. Down at 10% now, though. Faloria having to bubble to keep Majidin alive. He does drop the Execution Sentence. It looks like Majidin was actually able to steal another Execution Sentence at the same time, so he's going to be feeling pretty good about all that healing he just got. But now Jamili does have his Ice Block available. Gorecki does use his bubble to try and keep his teammates completely topped off, just allowing them to stay as aggressive as they want at the moment. Jamili popping that Icy Veins. He wants to try and make something happen here. Faloria's wings are about to fall off. He gets caught into the Deep Freeze. Do they have the follow-up CC for that? No, actually, excuse me, actually they do. He did not manage to land the sheep, but it doesn't even matter. Down goes Majidin, and that's the end of that. Tempo Storm taking that series 3-0.
Peekaboo casually doubling everyone again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Tempo Storm, man. That matchup, they look so strong with that Holy Pally God comp, and they are going to take a 3-0 victory against Weeback, and they're going to move on there to actually qualify for the Grand Finals, which will be tomorrow. So they'll be seeded into that, single elimination tournament. There's only 4 teams that are actually going to be seeded into Day 2, and we're going to actually find out who the next one is going to be as well, I believe. I think we're going to be jumping into that upper bracket first. Let's take a quick look at that upper bracket. So we're going into Group B now. I believe now it's Splice or